Afternoon, everyone. Just tried to do it a couple days ago. Found out it was extremely choppy. Go back through it again today, and hopefully it works. Anybody that jumps on while I'm on, if you notice it's choppy or crazy, look, try again another day. But without any hesitation, part 4 of our NASCAR for Beginner series. Going to start off, talking about a few different things this episode. Talk about some of the lawsuit that was settled a little bit ago. Mention some of that. Get into some of the lead into some of the fan rewards app and then answer some of the questions I've been sent throughout the previous weeks via text from people and stuff. So without any further ado, we'll jump into some of the off season. It was a pretty brutal off season for the NASCAR. Kind of a dark cloud. And then you turn around and you have the plane crash that claimed Greg Biffle and his wife and his 2 children. Shocking. And if that wasn't shocking enough, the Sunday after Christmas, we get word that the house that was owned by Demlin, where his mom and dad lived, caught fire, and his dad, unfortunately, getting better every day from the updates I've seen. So that's at least a sliver of good. Weird off season with stuff like that. You never want to see that for anything. Denny Hamlin is by far one of my least favorite drivers, but you still would never wish that on anybody. The lawsuit part was between, strangely enough, Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan's race team and Front Row Motorsports. Those 2 teams, 2311 is owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. 2 teams sued NASCAR for antitrust, went all the way to court, and turned out to be they both just decided to settle, which I think. But one of the big points of this was NASCAR. Previous episodes, I explained the charters, but for real 6 races of the NASCAR season, you're guaranteed a starting spot, and that's a lot of money. Teams. So there's a lot of money involved. One of the reports I saw splitting $365 million. Took their charters away, so they were racing as non-charter teams, so they weren't getting the full amount. Paid back what they were owed for charter as a charter team. So $365 million, pretty good chunk of change. I don't know how they're going to split it amongst the 2 teams. I don't know if it's going to be even, or if I would assume 2311 would get more of it because they actually had better finishing positions than Front Row, but that's for them to decide. The where instead of having to renew charters every year, NASCAR once in their years. The charters range about 35 million. That's a good average number for them. Has 4 teams in the Cup Series, so $35 million per. Now he's got, you know, those are permanent, so he doesn't have to worry about them, you know, renewing every year. So that's going to make more money, and potentially even cut some of the cost to the fans, because we'll have to see how it all plays out at the end. That's just kind of my take on it. I'm just glad it's over. As far as on track and stuff going on with what NASCAR likes to call silly season is their off season. No idea why they decided to call it silly season. They just do. A lot of movement this year as compared to previous years. Probably the biggest move would be Daniel's Spire Motorsports. That's probably the biggest move of the whole, but nothing real crazy. Like in the previous years, there's been all kinds of movement. So pretty quiet year so far. I know was formerly known as Stewart Haas Racing, which is now known as Haas Factory Team, from Fords to Chevrolets. That's only a one-car team, so doesn't really do a whole lot for the numbers count of the game. It just gives Chevrolet one more and takes one away from Ford. I guess some of the bigger news would be Craftsman is still going to be sponsoring the Truck Series, taking over the second tier, which previous year has been called the Xfinity Series. Of course, NASCAR's the NASCAR Cup Series. Probably another big announcement, which I think is going to have more to do with NASCAR in the future. Probably 2 to 3 years down the road, but Dodge is returning series with their Hemi. So that's going to be big. I'd like to see Dodge back in the series. I'd like to see Dodge eventually creep back into the Cup Series. I think they will. I just think they have a lot of development to do before they get there. And I think this is kind of their first step of bringing back their racing series. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm kind of excited to see what Dodge can do. And their first, not really a lot of news going on in the off season. Like I said, there's been a few minor moves. Nothing. I know we're creeping towards, NFL playoffs and stuff, which is always exciting for the restart of the NASCAR season. We're sitting 28 days away from the first race of the year. It's an exhibition race. It doesn't count for anything. It's an exhibition race. It's called the Clash. It's pretty much all the winners from last year are guaranteed into it. And then there's a couple of heat races to get more people in. I think they wind up with 21 to 22 cars on the track to race. So just an exhibition race, just kind of something fun to get the season kicked off. There, I don't know if I cut out for a minute, so we'll should be broadcasting the Clash. The Clash is actually held at Bowman Gray racetrack, but it's actually a football field with a race around it. And if you want to know why they call it the Madhouse, simply get on any YouTube stadium, the Madhouse, and just watch highlights, and you'll figure out why. Really crazy shaped track. It's just an oval, but the stands are literally and parts of it right next to the track. Like the wall is here in the stand. And like if this is the wall, here's a fan sitting right here. It's insane. Tons of fights break out at that place. So looking forward to that. That's 28 days from now, February 1st. And then you go from there, it's 42 days from now until the Daytona 500. That is the Sunday after the Super Bowl. So NASCAR kind of brackets the Super Bowl. It's 42 days till the actual race, which is 3 o'clock, 2:30-ish on Sunday. It's on Fox again. Fox has the first half of the NASCAR season. And then it splits over. TNT has a few races, and then NBC normally finishes out the year on NBC and Peacock. But if you go to NASCAR.com, there's the whole schedule there, and it gives you the broadcast. It gives you the breakdown of everything, laps of how many laps for each race, all kinds of stuff. 30, I want to say 36 days. I don't know what's going on with this internet. We're going to try to make it through this and hope for the best. You're like 36 days from qualifying, and qualifying sets the front row for the actual race. So those two positions will be locked in. And then Thursday, they do what they call the dual 150s, and it's 2 races, and it's pretty first duel, and everybody that qualified even is in the second duel. Now those first 2 positions are already locked behind them based on finishing position in the duel. It's 150 mile. So it's 60 laps, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you take 2.5 miles into consideration, that's 150 miles. That's still a pretty drive. So there's a lot going on with. So it's really interesting to watch those races. Those are normally on FS1, but you can probably find them streaming on YouTube or something. Another thing I haven't really mentioned either, jumping off track here, is NASCAR actually has their own channel on Tubi, which is free, or if you have a Roku TV, there's a NASCAR channel on Roku, which is free. It shows some of the, like in the morning, it shows the talk show that's simulcast on Sirius XM radio, and shows throughout the thing. Good way to catch some old races on there too. So that, if you're interested, you want to check out, give that a watch. That leads us up to Daytona. After that, you get into the one question, not really question, one topic I'm going to save for the end. Just because probably the most important one. But some of the questions that down in Houston has sent me stuff and asked, does NASCAR race outside of the USA? And the answer is yes, they have. They've actually had a race in Japan before, an exhibition race. They've raced in Canada last year, just simply last year. They raced in Mexico City. Races in like a Canada and Mexico, but it's going to be, you can't really do it, or even down in Brazil, which has been talked about before. It's just too much trying to move that many pieces to that far. a nightmare, that it doesn't make sense to try that during the regular season. And it could be done as an exhibition, but I just don't. I don't think that that's going to be something that's real possible, especially since you're starting in February. Would be in Michigan or something, but you still have to take into consideration move pieces and then getting back and yeah. So I just think Brazil and coming back in the fold at some point. He also asked me, what is the fast turn in NASCAR? And that's a tricky one because some your Michigan, Daytona, Talladegas, those kind of tracks. But the problem with Daytona and Talladega is those are considered pack racing where everybody's in a line and the cars can only really go as fast as the cars in front. So if the guy up front's trying to save fuel and not go as fast, then you're going to have slower speeds, of course, going into the corners. But like in Michigan, they can get spread out. I mean, there's times cars have gone turn one in Michigan at over 200. It can get pretty high speed out there. But you've got some tracks like Bristol, Tennessee, which is a half-mile track. And yeah, the speeds aren't fast, but the banking is so insane that every time he goes into a corner because of the amount of force on his body. So if you had to make me pick, I'd probably say Michigan is the fastest corner, just because I'd probably say Michigan has the fastest turn. He asked also, when did NASCAR go from dirt to pavement? Don't know the exact time frame on that. I know it started out, dirt up in the North Carolina market area, that whole area, North Carolina, Kentucky. That started. It was racing on the beach in Daytona, and then NASCAR built Daytona. And then the evolution of NASCAR has even been that now they're racing on street circuits. They were racing in downtown Chicago last year, and the previous couple of years actually on the July 4th weekend. I mean, right through the heart of downtown Chicago. So they've kind of evolved a little bit and tried different things. They've even taken the Bristol Motor Speedway I talked about a couple minutes ago for the spring race. They have 2 races there every year, spring and fall. Covered it with dirt, and it was a little different, but it kind of ran its course after 3 years. People were kind of, structure and surface. But NASCAR is one that will try different things. They took Bristol Motor Speedway and they've played college football games in the middle of it. Ball Stadium last year. I think the Reds and the Braves played there. I'll try to get stuff going. Well, that's drafting, downforce, and drag. Drafting, obviously, you get numerous cars in line, and you'll see this at the bigger Daytona. Actually, Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega. You'll see it more often, be more prevalent at those tracks. You'll see it some at a Michigan, more prevalent at are those 3. And you'll get 6, 7 cars in a line just pushing each other, and obviously the car in front is doing the most work. just kind of under a bubble that comes over the top of his car. So cars doing 160 miles an hour, and you can have a guy 4 cars behind you running half throttle doing 160 miles an hour. So he's saving fuel because he doesn't have there's no drag on his car. And that's the deal with drafting. Forces that creates drag. So, to go fast, you want to have downforce but eliminate drag, and that's the fine line that these teams have to deal with when you can't just make it your own heights and your own weights. It's all specified by NASCARs. You have to be this high, this weight, all that kind of stuff. So it was. There's just numerous different ways that they can do it, though. A little piece of tape on the front of the car here, believe it or not. So those are definitely the 3Ds of speed. He asked me 2 more questions also. Doug apparently has a lot of time to ask. Are there races in the summer and fall? And yes, there's races like a 15th, and then the championship race is around their first to second weekend of November. They pretty much take 1 week off throughout the year. So you're talking 36 races with 1 off week, sometimes 2. I know a couple of years ago, they took 2 weeks off in the middle of the season for the Olympic break because NBC was doing the Olympics and all of their broadcasters were going to be over at the Olympics. So NASCAR took a 2-week break. The teams loved it. Especially that late in the season leading into what starts the playoff season. There's 36 races, as I mentioned, but 26 of those are regular season, and then the last 10 are the playoff. You got to realize that having a break that late in the season is really beneficial to kind of recharge the batteries for all these teams. And I know he asked that because his daughter plays college softball and she's kind of busy in the spring, obviously. So can he go in the spring and the fall? And the answer is by far yes. You can find a race if you want to. His last question is one in one of the beginning episodes of this, which I should have been posting these on the screen. I apologize to y'all. Did NASCAR really start from bootlegging alcohol? And the straight up answer is yes. And the reason earlier this year or last year, I guess, not earlier this year, that'd have been yesterday. The day before. Last year I watched it. It's called Red Rising. I think it's on Netflix. I'm not 100% sure, but you can find it. Really good movie. It's pretty much the start of NASCAR. It's how NASCAR. So it just kind of gives you the breakdown. Yes, it is from running alcohol, running from the cops. And then people just started, oh, well, I can. And they just decided, and if you watch the movie, one of the dads of one of the people running the alcohol winds up just and then they turn around and go, they go into even the France family talking and trying to get to help start NASCAR. Just asking now back then in the 30s and 40s. One of the main guys in the movie was like, no, I'm going to fail. And now looking back on it, hindsight, for $500, his family could have been set for the rest of their life. But that's just, what it is. It's really good movie to watch. Definitely does go into the start of NASCAR and how it started. And I have a shirt and I have a magnet that I got from the Speed. There was Shine. I have another shirt that on the back of it, it straight up says, it was only illegal if you got caught. They straight came from bootlegging alcohol. Oh, good to see you pop in too, Doug. Watching live right now. Him and my buddy Mossberg at Level Up Sport chat right now. Doug, next question he just asked is, eventually there it is, are they using 87 octane like my it is actually made by Sunoco. It's called Green E15 fuel, but it's actually just a 98 octane. And just looking it up here as to what that means, it's 15% corn-based ethanol for cleaner burning and power. That's what they use in Cup, Xfinity Cup, O'Reilly's, and the Craftsman truck. So than what your truck runs. So that's kind of what they do with their fuel. It's also very expensive. I want to say in one of the previous ones I showed, it was something like it's kind of like one of the first episodes I did where we were breaking down some of the costs. I think it was like 17. Let's see. This question came from Life down there. Favorite team or driver you root for? I root for this right here. Josh Berry drives the number 21 car. One of the original teams, the only real original team still around. I'm a Josh Berry fan. When my driver retired, which was Kevin Harvick, used to drive, I became Josh Berry because Josh Berry took over for Kevin Harvick. So just kind of, by default, fell into Josh Berry. But I root for, which is crazy because I don't have a Ford vehicle. I have a Toyota Tundra, and my wife has a Jeep. So I root for Fords, I don't know. I just fell in love with the Ford. I think it was the first car I saw on track that looked really cool, the paint job. So I just started following the Fords. But even with that, I mean, it depends on who your driver is. Like Kevin Harvick was my driver. He took over when Dale Earnhardt passed away. And though I liked the Fords, he was my driver. Then he eventually switched to Ford when Tony Stewart and Stewart Haas Racing switched from Chevy to Ford. So it worked. Which is a Ford owned car, not owned, but it's a Ford. They actually are in alliance with Penske. They have an affiliation, like all shop North Carolina. So they have a really good alliance. They share info. He's probably my second favorite race team. They're also a Ford team, obviously. She likes Ryan Blaney. Really good Cup Series champion driver from 2023, I think. Yeah, I think he won the series. I like them. I still root for I won't as much this year because they're switching to Chevrolet, but the Haas factory team, I was rooting for them too. They were a Ford team driving their car. You can't go wrong with Cole Custer. So just sounds like a racing. Then you have Jack Roush, the Fenway ownership group, and Brad Keselowski, RFK. They're another Ford team. So I root for all the Ford drivers. One of the others. Normally it's a Penske driver I'm rooting for. Blaney would probably be my second favorite driver. Although I do like Chris Buescher a lot too, mainly because he's Texas, just outside of Dallas. So I like him a lot too, just that Texan thing. So that's pretty much who I root for and who I, like. Do it, then don't worry about necessarily finding a favorite driver like in the first. See who you like. Watch some of the interviews with them. You may not like the way this guy talks, but you may love the way this guy talks or races. Maybe this guy is more conservative of a racer, and maybe this guy's way more aggressive and you like the more aggressive style. You don't have to root for any one person to watch NASCAR. You can just watch it to figure out more about it. And then as you get more in, you can figure out who you want to root for. You can even do what a lot of people do when they first get into the sport. And they're like, you know what? I like the Toyota drivers, or I like the Chevy drivers, and just root for anybody. You don't have to have a favorite. Once you get a favorite, the races, with the chance that you're, literally, you can run in and meet him. Joe Burrow is your favorite quarterback in the NFL, and you go to a Cincinnati Bengals, where at the NASCAR race, you could. Not saying you will, but your driver could be doing an autograph session that day at the race you're at, so you can go talk to him. He may do a question. You have a lot more access to the drivers and the athletes, so to speak, in this sport than you do any other. The most important one, and I'll not download this app and start it today. Today is Sunday, January 4th, 2026. I will come back on for a short, quick emergency podcast when the app refreshes. It has not refreshed yet. So if you start now, there's a possibility that you could lose. So just wait till the app restarts. I will come on when it does and walk more through it. But this is the app that you use. And of course, you need an email. I will tell you, if you don't like, letters and stuff, which it doesn't happen, but maybe once or twice a week that you get into your email. But if you're one of those who doesn't like it and you wanted to just create a separate email, send you like promo codes and things like that, which are basically free points. So, but pretty much you'll need an email address and go through, you'll enter your profile. It'll give you the option to select the it's going to pick the first one on the list and go from there. You can do drive to them. It gives you bonus points. You can get just by checking it. So we'll take Daytona, for example. There's going to be 3 races at Daytona, which is the Truck Series, the O'Reilly Series, and just simply open the app, hit the leaderboard, and then hit check in, and it's 50 points. So on the first weekend of NASCAR, you can have 150 points. What are points for, people ask? There's a rewards catalog that you can go in and you put there's different things, tickets for races, anywhere from 1,500 to I've seen them up to 1,000 points for tickets. 1,500 would be like the Truck Series, 6,000 would be for like the Cups. Signed merchandise, there's regular merchandise, there's sweepstakes. I put mine in at the end of the year for a VIP trip for 2 to San Diego to the race out there this year. I like the die-cast cars from NASCAR. So there was one where I put my points in the rate, the collection of NASCAR things I like. Sometimes there's put your points in and win free Sunoco fuel for a year. Obviously, it's a sweepstakes, so your chances of winning, pretty low. But still, you're saying there's a all you need is a chance. So, if you, or however many races are going on that weekend, could be up to 150 that weekend. NASCAR has a fantasy team app where you can be able to create a fantasy team and you change it every week. As long as you submit it before the race, ends or before the race starts, you get bonus points for that. You get bonus points for checking in on different streaks. Like there's a streak for 5 check-ins and 10 check-ins, 20 check-ins. There's a streak for fantasy. Tuesday and Thursday, they send out a question through the NASCAR app on the dashboard. Last year, the year before last, you had to answer right. Last year, it didn't matter if you answered it right. They gave you the points anyway. And it's only it's 10 points. And then last year, and you just open the app again, go to your dashboard, click Powerball, and it'll spin and it'll give you pretty much 10 points. Sometimes you get 50, sometimes 70, sometimes a little more, but Normally it's 10 points, but rookie, I think all-star and then champion. Once you progress and get points, and it seems like crazy. Rookie level gets 0 bonus points. You just get 10 points for answering one of the questions, let's say. And you answer one of the questions. Well, now that 10 points has become that 15 points or 20 points or whatever. I don't remember. But you get bonus points. And I can tell you, I started the app probably halfway into the season, maybe about a quarter way into the season. And by the end of the season, I had already accumulated enough points to buy tickets to a race. So, which I used to take my wife to the Bristol race in Bristol, Tennessee. And she still says that's her favorite place and that's the other thing I do is my wife has the app also, and I pretty much run her app for her to get her the points. And then if we decide we want to go to a race, her fiance, I can get 2 tickets to that race, and so can they. So we'll get more into the app, but those are the things. Obviously, there is a premium app also. It's like, I think, $4.99 a month. But my wife doesn't have that, but I do. But you get points for that every month also. But that allows you access to like listening to your favorite driver and his crew chief and the guy on top, the spotter who's spotting him throughout the race. You can actually listen to him through your phone. But that's, you don't have to still gets enough points to buy whatever she wanted from the stuff. You can get experiences off of there too. Like you can actually save up. You have to use them every year, but if you can save up enough points, say you're going to go to a race, you can trade in points to be the guy or girl who waves the green flag pace car for the pace laps to begin the race. There's just all kinds of garage tours, things like that. You get bonus points for going to the Nascar Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is an amazing Hall of Fame, by the way. You get bonus points if you go to a race. You do a track check-in and you get an extra 100 points plus if you've got bonus points for that. So the app resets. I'm expecting it to reset probably either this week or next every day. And once it does, then like I said, we'll go on and we'll kind of go through it. I know I've got some buddies who are looking to get it this year, so we'll set something up and maybe have one of them on stream and share screen or something and kind of walk through where to go and things like that. So other than that, in the question section, yeah, no other stuff. Hopefully this one recorded a lot better than we'll see them here, but the main thing to remember life, Level Up Sports 10, Parlay Poe with his Blitzburg podcast, City League TV, which does a lot for the high school stuff here in the Columbus. Take Zay is down there. I know it says FanDuel, but he's changed his handle. SEC Sean. So we just got done doing reviews for in Notre Dame. We did season reviews for both of those teams. Go check those out if you're fans of either one of those teams. Like, subscribe, and so that you'll know when we go live. We'll be talking about as we get going. We're going to talk about a little bit of hockey. I'm kind of taking a backseat on hockey this year because the Blue Jackets are just not what they used to be or what they were last year. We're also going to have a buddy of mine, Adam John, with me for a couple of episodes coming up with some World Cup stuff. With the World Cup coming to the U.S., get into that a little bit, break down some of the draws, some of the pools when I make them, but give you some stuff there. The just there's tons of comment on all of our channels. You can go back and more for beginners. Really, it's part 5, but I didn't number the first one, so I just left that one alone and started out. You can always, reach out, or if you have your notifications on and I'm going live, if you can always, jump on and ask the question. I'll answer every question I see. Go catch up on some of this NFL football and see what's going on. Good Sunday, and we'll get back soon and go with some more